they try and take that cover off. You start talking to yourself because look, the hinge is trapped right in the middle of it. So what most people did and what I did for many years is then you go through the hydraulic nonsense and bring the trunk up this way. And now they're exposed, they're clear, and with a little bit of manhandling, you can get it to come out. Here's a trick I learned. If you have the trunk up at the front like that, release the back, now you not only have an umbrella, but you have clear access to the whole works. Real easy to do it then. When you take the cover off, you'll have the switch cylinder connected under here. So take a look at it, how it comes apart, and make sure that you put it back on before you put the roof up, because honest to God, you'll never get in tight or properly with the plastic on there. Just to remove the pump, it's pretty straightforward. You have to take this piece off, which is a couple of torques, or 4 torques, and then there's 2 nuts down here. This switch unplugs and turns. You turn to pull it out of the way, and I believe there's another. But the hoses are all numbered, so you don't need to worry about putting them back on. The numbers are engraved into the plate, but you loosen those screws off, and you can turn the plate. Most cars will have these attached with a little clip or a zip ties to hold them in place so they can't possibly come loose. But this one's been off and on a couple times, so I don't have that. But just loosen those screws, turn them, and they come right off. Yep. Okay, folks. This is something you've probably never seen apart before. It's the hydraulic pump off the SLK. My roof was getting slow. I mean really slow. And I thought, I'm going to get the pump rebuilt. I didn't know if I could handle it. I went online and looked. I couldn't find any information about rebuilding the pump, but I did find several places that said they'd do it for $1,500. That's a bit much. And I found one place, Top Hydraulics, which I recommend. These are pretty good guys. They would do it for $460, and they had a whole list of parts that they might replace. But and they also warned that if there's any damage done by DIY, it would cost more to have it done. I then thought, well, I'll take it around town and see if there's any of the hydraulic shops in town that'll do it. Well, as soon as they heard Mercedes-Benz, they wouldn't touch it because we can't get parts. That left one option, me, to take it apart myself, and so I did. And I was quite surprised how simple it was. First off, the motor came off the end, and I mean the motor's pretty straightforward, just drives on a shaft that way. I mean a bit of electrical. What I guess you call these servo valves. They go in, they plug in here, really straightforward. They open and close valves. The reservoir was on the end of it, and it was held on with a little clamp, and there was a what do you call it? A filter on it. No, it's nothing complicated so far. This was the mount. A couple of screws just came right off. But I got into it, then I got into the pump. Well, here's the pump. A sleeve. And this little rotor, I guess, it's got 3 tiny little pistons on it. It slides. Oh, there's a washer in there. It'll only go in one way. A washer goes over that. Then there's another washer on top. And there's a shaft that goes through there for the drive. This is held in by a circlip. This is a circlip. There's nothing there that's going to wear out. I mean, it's all rock solid. The only thing that's going to wear out, as far as I could see, were the O-rings. And I checked the servo valves. And there's 3 O-rings on each one. They were great. I pulled out a couple of the shafts, and there's a little O-ring on there. That one's in pretty good shape. And then I took out this one. This is the pressure relief valve. And it's got an O-ring there, and there's a little white O-ring, and if you look at it closely, the O-ring is buggered. 27 cents for a 5mm by 1.5 O-ring. So rather than spend $460, I could get that done for, well, peanuts. Not going to cost me a whole lot. And real simple to reassemble it, same way, just put it back together. Anyway, that's all there is to, oh, the hoses. There's 14 hoses come off it, and each one is numbered, and if you look down here, there's the numbers to tell you where to put them back in. And this has got a little, see, that one holds it shut. You're in that detent, it holds it open, so you can just plug them in, move that over. And once you've got it all together, these all fit in a way that you can put a zip tie through and lock it so they don't come out again. Bulletproof. Real simple. Save yourself some money, do it yourself. Well, the O-rings arrived and I'm getting ready to reassemble it. And look at that tiny little O-ring. So I got those two right. This one, I made a mistake and I ordered 8x1 instead of 8x2. And on the solenoid valves, one of the rings at the back is a larger size. It's 17, not 15, so I have to order those. Anyway, I can assemble it and check it the way it's what I've got. But all ready to put it back together. And hey, I lied about the price of the O-rings. All those O-rings there cost me less than $10, but I got them from China. I'm happy. Well, I decided that that one little O-ring isn't going to make much difference, and this one looks like it's in pretty good shape. So I'm just going to reassemble it with what I've got and figure, what the hell? I'm going to put a little bit of oil to lubricate all the O-rings, just to put them in, just to make it a little better. And get a little bit of hydraulic oil on each of the O-rings. And they'll slip in a little easier. Seal. Cleaned everything up with brake clean before I started. I mean, I've never worked on hydraulics before, but so far it hasn't come up with anything that amazes me. And if it works, well, I'll brag about it. Anyway, just a little bit of oil on it. Got to put together and put the just so straightforward. It's so simple to put this together. The solenoid valves, they only go in one way. No matter how hard you try, you can't get them going any other way. They just slide in and tighten down with a couple of little screws. Real simple, and I don't think torque is a big issue. Get them, a little better than finger tight, really. There were some of the screws that I tried to take out on the side. They're in really, really tight, and I'm sure there's nothing in there except an O-ring. And so I haven't bothered pulling them out, but it's super straightforward. I'll be so glad when I get my shop back and don't have to work in this squalor. But there's an elevator inside here, and it kind of limits my shop space. And there's the fender I've got to repair from the fire. But I'm going to show you the pump. Now, this is the hydraulic pump, and it's really, really simple. You don't have, knowing what I know now, don't be afraid to tackle them. First off, you don't have to take this part off the end. The motor, 2 bolts and the motor pulls right off. The base is held on by these 3 screws. They come off easily. You've got two switches down here, and you see the plugs are identical, but one side has the brown and green, the other side has the yellow. The brown and green goes to the front side, which is where you're back to disassembling the now if you take this one out first, you'll notice there's a brass washer on that one. It's got 1 O-ring on it. No problem, but you have to take that one out first before you can remove the relief valve. When it comes out, there's a spring on it and there's a little ball bearing down there. Don't lose that ball bearing, but there's the two O-ring, different sizes. There's 3 different sizes of O-rings, but that's the one that was causing all my problems. So simple to repair, and you can do this without taking the motor out of the car. You can do this with it still in the car. If you do take it out, you don't have to take that tank off, and if you do, you see this little knob has to be on the top to give you the levels. Okay, the new pump's in. These wiring, you just have to get the wiring sorted out so you can clip it into the holders on the mount. Pretty simple. But it's all in there. There's a long bar that goes down in behind that you have to slide in. Now is a pretty good time to fill your pump, and because you can get out with the hypo or whatever you're doing, but do it slow because you'll make a mess. Otherwise, it'll bubble back on you. Okay. Well, I got my pump working, and the roof is faster than you could ever believe. Way faster than the rebuilt pump that I put in. But I learned a few things. The first thing I learned is if you get a little bit of hydraulic fluid on these hoses, the numbers wash off. So the first thing I'm going to recommend to you, if you do anything, is make sure you label all your hoses, because tracking them down and seeing where they go requires complete trunk, taking off your headliner. And fortunately I had a car already apart, so I didn't have to do all that, but you have to follow all the hose up and have somebody pulling one end to see where it comes out the other side. I made a little graph of where they all go, the numbers of where they all go. It turns out that all that was wrong with it was a single O-ring on this shaft. There's two O-rings on it. There's two on that one. There's one on this one. You have to pull this one out first, and then this one will come all the way out. And if you do that, you can replace that with a tiny little O-ring, and make sure you don't lose the ball bearing that's inside there. Another thing I learned is when you put this back on, you make sure that little knob is at the top, otherwise your levels will be in the wrong spot. That I discovered is these two servo valves are identical. The wires that connect up to them, the plugs are identical, but the wires aren't, so you have to make sure that the yellow one's on the outside. Now, once I reversed those, valve opening in sequence, it worked properly, and now the roof is much, much faster.